The third thing that all of us are always pursuing is the competitive edge. Why? Because we're working for future. If you're working for future, and if I ask you, give me one gift for future, the best gift that your best present that you can ever give it to me is to make the company more competitive. That means have you enhanced the competitive edge by way of your strategizing, by way of your execution, implementations, and various newer ideas that you have been able to put. And distribution channel or the sales channel becomes a very important part that gives to companies huge amount of competitive edge. Okay, so this is one. I just wanted to show you that if in the last about 5 years or so, a lot of work has gone in Canon in building, creating, and strengthening the distribution channel and the sales channel. The last mile has attracted a lot of investment from Canon, and we are beginning to see good results of 30% growth 3 years and then 50% growth in the last 2 years. Any distribution channel, any sales channel has to align with the long-term goals. So we have to have a 5 years horizon. We cannot create a channel without keeping a 5 years horizon at the least. That's the second point I wanted to make. Okay, 2 quick points and then I'll show you some examples of Canon. As I mentioned to you, growth, profits, and competitive edge. These, according to me, are the top level must goals, pursuits for every organization. And as you begin to reach into the growth and as you go into a higher growth levels, reach becomes as one of the most important parts. So whenever anybody talks to you about distribution channel, sales channel, reach would always be a part of the discussion. You cannot have a discussion on distribution channel without thinking about a reach. When you think of a reach and if that becomes one of your desire, then naturally the width, the depth, and the dominance and trust, these are the 4 things that we have done. I don't know conceptually, maybe you will read more theories on this, but these are the 4 things that Canon did in creating distribution channel, keeping 5 years hence in mind. And that we did in a way that how do we enhance the width and how do we enhance the depth. So one of the things in the B2C area that we're doing is to have continuously adding the last point or the retail points in line with the growth that we are expecting. So when I showed you 50% growth, our last point retail outlets growth has been also in line with that, about 40 or 50%. Store-to-store growth is not too high. And any business expansion provides you a higher growth. Even to the large retail chains that you come across with, Chromas and Reliance Digital, etc. And if you ask them about their store-to-store growth, often it is not. Competition erodes it. And they also have enormous competition. So competition erodes store-to-store growth. So how do you add growth? So you add growth by having multiple platforms. So it becomes very important. So one of the metrics that everybody has to have in mind is to ask salespeople this question: how many more dealers have been added in the last 1 year? How many more outlets have been added? In other words, how many more shelves have been added? And therefore, often we give this guidance to people that when you are making a plan, not only add more outlets in a colony, look at the malls and say, how many malls do I have outlets? And even within the mall, how many floors do we have outlet, depending on your category of your products?